Hey everybody, how you doing? Sunny Bell Reject back in the house with another video. What kind of video? Well, today is going to be a book review, mostly on April Fools by Richie Tankersley Cusick. That's right, April Fools. I heard so many good things about this book and everybody was right. It's got all the attributes of a fun, page-turning novel that's entertaining and that probably will stick with you for a little bit, and as you get older you might want to revisit because of the nostalgia. Speaking of nostalgia, old school April is going on, and it's a time when folks revisit the 80s and 90s, those things that bring back the nostalgia of the era, and it's awesome. The truth is, I kind of jumped on the bandwagon because I thought it was exciting, and I like all the videos that I watched by the people who were doing it, so I did an old school April video. But the truth is, the 90s were my life. I lived it. And so I can take ownership in that music and those books and all those movies and talk about it with authority and pride because I lived it and I'm a product of it. But the Sunnyvale Reject is a loner, and I got to stay a loner. So today we're going to take a look at April Fools, Richie Tankersley Cusick. We're going to do a little review. I don't want to give any spoilers or anything like that that would ruin the book for you because it's amazing. You're going to love it. It was written in 1990, and it's book 7 of Point Horror. And Richie Tankersley Cusick, born in New Orleans in 1952, wrote well over 25 books and was wildly successful and popular. This book, probably, more than any other, was probably her most successful book, and I see why. It is gothic in nature. I think there's some missed opportunities there, but because of the brooding nature of the plot and the characters, and the architecture of the house itself and the familiar the lines that were related to the house, you know what I mean, like an old Poe story, like The Fall of the House of Usher. But I don't think that she really capitalized on it because there wasn't enough description of the house, the gables, the landscaping, the walk, the art on the walls, those kind of things. She missed an opportunity there, and I think that was lacking because the scene was set up to be, fantastic and spooky and wonderful, but she didn't describe it enough. So you're left kind of doing it yourself, and if that was the intention, okay, she succeeded. But I ended up making up details about the house, the wooden staircase, the art on the wall that depicted the previous residence, that kind of thing. So anyway, I think that was a missed opportunity. But there were some good relationships in the book. Primarily, the characters were flat, though, and featureless. Like Frank, very flat, one-dimensional. Hildy was flat and one-dimensional. She has a small epiphany towards the end of the book, but it doesn't justify. They're just assholes. And even kids that are assholes, they still have some feelings, and these kids didn't have any feelings at all. And what does happen is, it's April Fools, and Frank considers himself the king of the fools, and they're driving around, and, he's messing with the steering wheel and being loud and obnoxious, and they encounter another car, and somehow that other car gets run off the road. There's an accident, and Belinda feels a lot of guilt. She really does. The other two are like, F it, get over it. Who cares? It happens every day. The car went off the cliff, exploded in the flames. But Belinda sees somebody on the hill watching, and she's wondering what's going on. Did somebody see them? Is that a survivor? But anyway, she tries to get help. The others don't. So she's like, hey, even if somebody saw it, they'll know that I did the right thing, right? Well, out of nowhere, she gets an offer to work in this Gothic-style house, or that's what I'm led to think, I think, by the wicked stepmother, that we heard about that all throughout literature, right? And she's supposed to tutor a kid. The kid has some injuries that are similar to those that one might have sustained in a car wreck, like we were just talking about. So there's some questions there. She doesn't really know, but she does take the job. She goes to they end up being tutoring sessions. She tutors this kid, and he's, mad at the world and bitter and jaded and all those synonyms for words like that you can think of. And there's I don't want to give any more away about that part of the plot, but let's just say in the beginning you're going to be led in a few different directions. I think you'll be really happy with the outcome. But as I was saying, there's a lot of characters. There's Frank, there's Hildy, there's Belinda, there's Cobbs, there's Miss Thorne. Mr. Thorne is rarely mentioned. There's Belinda's mother, and you've got relationships like Frank and Hildy. Frank and Belinda, because they used to date in a relationship, right? And that's why you think that Frank's going to be more caring than he is. You've got Cobbs and Belinda and her mother. And those relationships, though brought up and they have scenes, they're just not too deep. But they're deep enough, that you feel sympathetic for one character primarily, and the others, you are made to hate them in a certain way. Like good movies are cast with the perfect characters that you just want to slap in the face, and you're like, why would they put that person in the movie? Oh yeah, I get it, because I can't even stand the way they look. Hildy and Frank are those kind of characters, but then there's Noel and Adam. Adam is the kid with the injuries, and and they all have these relationships going on. For the most part, they are flat, but there are some complex relationships that that make you care about the characters in the end and how things carry on with them when it's all said and done. So there was some good writing also. I encountered many pages where I thought about what Poe said about sustained tension. So Poe said, we don't have attention spans, and this was way back when, right? We damn sure don't have attention spans now, so to keep the reader's attention, you have to have what's called sustained tension. Check this out, y'all. This is one of those pages where I was not constantly reminded like I was in a Thrill Club that I was reading a YA book. I think with a few changes here and there, this book could be for any reader, adult, whatnot. But I really liked this part right here. All right, can I read this? It's kind of long, okay? But sighing, Belinda pillowed her head on folded arms and stared out her window into the night. She couldn't remember ever feeling so utterly alone, so deeply afraid. She didn't know what to do. She didn't know what was happening. She just lay there, eyes fixed on her window, on the shadows framed and hung against the sky. She thought of Adam choking on hate and anger, hiding in his dark room in a dark, cruel world where nobody cared. Belinda felt sick and hopeless inside. Is this how Adam feels? Like nothing will ever get any better? Like no one will ever... And then there's an M dash. Her breath caught in her throat. Across the foot of the bed, the open window suddenly darkened and filled. In some remote part of her terrified brain, she tried to believe that a cloud had simply swept over the moon, swathing the room in darkness. But deep inside, in the deepest part of her, Belinda knew better. See, that's great writing. I like that. And I was entertained by it. I didn't think that the language was lofty or low diction. I think it perfectly fit the context and the mood that she was trying to create. So there's a bit of good writing right there that leaves you wondering, right? And we've all been there. First about the not caring. We've all felt like nobody cares about us. We've all felt unloved, and that's not true. If you're out there and you feel that way, don't feel that way, because you are loved, and you're not just enough. You're more than enough. But it does create that sentiment, and I like that. But there's two relationships, Noel and Adam, and even though you don't really find out their relationship until the end, that does remind me of Scream. Y'all remember Scream, right? With Matthew Lillard and oh man, what was that girl's name? Neve Campbell? Yeah. Adam and Noel's relationship reminded me of those guys' relationship in the movie Scream. So the ending, a lot of stuff goes on, right? And there's not really any loose ends. Everything is tied up nicely. I mean, this plot is tight. The characters do exactly what they're supposed to. They lead you in these different directions. Some things are reconciled. Some things are not meant to be reconciled, And another thing, you do see some development. Now that I'm talking about characters, you do see some character development, especially in Belinda and Cobb's changes and the way the whole book resolves itself and what happens next. It's fitting, and it didn't seem so out of the blue as first I thought it might, because you're constantly thinking about what's going to happen. You're formulating these scenarios in your head and stuff. But yeah, this book is fun. It's only 218 pages. It's worth reading if you're into mystery, YA horror, even adult horror. This is a brooding, dark piece of YA horror fiction that will keep you guessing, will keep you on the edge of the seat, and that you won't be like, oh boy, I wasted my time reading this. So look, I think that's about all I wanted to say about this. Yeah, let's take another look at it. This is April Fool's by Richie Tankersley Cusick. This is part of my old school April reading list, aka my normal life, right? Next, Funhouse by Diane Ho. I'm already reading this. I am 18 pages into it, and I may talk to you guys about that. I may not. I may move on. I'll probably wrap up April, you know, what I did, the books I read, the TV I watched. But I'll go ahead and let y'all know. I've been listening to a lot of music from the 90s, like Pearl Jam, Tricky. Y'all remember Tricky? In fact, I'll do a CD haul. You know, Suicidal Tendencies, that kind of thing, some old school hip hop. I've been watching movies like, you know, Fight Club, Groundhog Day. I think I watched The Iron Giant, but I am having a blast. I hope you guys are too. And I hope I've inspired you to read April Fools, because lots of other YouTubers out there like Shadyside Library, Cameron Chaney, Slime and Slashers, those folks are amazing and their channels kick ass. But they all said the same thing about this book and they were all right. So props to you. Guys, have a wonderful day. Be on the lookout for some book hauls I've got coming out. They're going to rock your world. Stay cool and keep reading.